So we are here with Jacob and Sean at the Pro Tour in Baltimore, and we will take a look at your Azalea deck because you just made it to the top 8 of the calling here in Baltimore. Congratulations.
Yeah. Sounds good, thank you.
So how did the tournament went for you?
It went well. I think I was undefeated day 0 or day 1. Day 2 I lost my first 2 rounds of the day, so I basically had to win out to top 8, and I did win out. I had a lot of close matchups. All my opponents were really great, and yeah, I enjoyed my games and was happy to make the top 8. This is my first calling top 8, so
nice.
Exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So we want to start actually with something really special, right? Show us.
We're gonna open my first gold foil, so we're gonna go ahead and start with that.
Wait, you've never opened a gold foil from our pro quest either,
Which
right?
direction does it come from?
I don't know.
This
I don't
way
remember.
or this way? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yo,
Flick
knives.
knives.
That's a nice
That's
hit.
pretty sick.
That's a really sick hit.
Nice.
I like that. That's
Nice
awesome. That's a really good hit. Hell yeah.
Nice. Alright, and now coming to your spicy Azalea deck, because you played kind of a different version than from what we had in the top 8 in the Pro Tour. Show us what did you change up?
Yeah, so this is actually Great Bow in New Horizon Azalea. Most of you guys know, like, normal Azalea with Death Dealer and Cross Trap popularized by Levi Rauch and a couple other people, Brody Spurlock. We have a different take on the deck. My teammate Sean originated with Sandscour Great Bow in New Horizon. I was developing Sandscour Great Bow in Cross Trap, but after a lot of discussion and talking to Sean, he sold me on the New Horizon. The key differences is that Great Bow doesn't need an empty arsenal to load, so you can have 2 arsenals. Having 2 arsenals lets you set up bigger turns versus blocky decks like Oldhim, Bravo, and things like that. And then lastly, even if you have an arsenal, you can pay 1 into Great Bow and still look at the top card of your deck. So this deck gives you so much consistency as far as getting arrows into your arsenal, having multiple different pathways on your turn. So my personal favorite aspect about the deck is that we can run Eye of Ophidia risk-free. Because you can blind Azalea at all times. Even if you blind Azalea into an Eye of Ophidia, you have another arsenal slot open because of New Horizon. So basically that lets you pitch into Great Bow or do whatever you need to do after that. And I blind Azalea into Eye of Ophidia twice in this tournament and won both of my games. So other than that, the Quiver is just a nice card. Levi made a good point that Quiver of Abyssal Depths is kind of redundant because the cards you want back versus fatigue decks are non-attacks. So we run 1 Remembrance for fatigue decks. But other than that, the core of the deck is like the good aim arrows, and then we put a lot of thought into a lot of the different arrows. We're going to release a Decktech on our channel as well, but you'll see that we're not running red infecting shots, which some people are probably going to fight us about. But
you guys fought me about it.
Yeah,
sure.
we fought about that. I still think that we should probably find a spot for it, but right now this is really more of a control deck. So Death Dealer Azalea has got like all the Bolton shots, Rain Razors, everything like that. We're not running anything but 2 blue Bolton shots for the Dromai matchup. No Rain Razors. All of our effects just aim to be as disruptive as possible. And then we just try to gain control of the game and keep rolling with consistency.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to add. So we talked about how the 2 arsenals in the control matchup allows you to have a 6-card hand to push through damage. But what 2 arsenals does in the aggro matchup is if you can manage it, your arsenals become separate lanes of attack, and so you can balance your on hits. So for instance, I don't need to use a Deadeye with a red in the ledger against an aggro list. It doesn't do anything for me. So I can save the Deadeye and use it next turn, especially if that Deadeye comes face up off of a Heat Seeker. It's absolutely huge. So it opens us up to a lot of different lines of play against aggro, and yeah, we just have significantly more choice in the game. Like, we find ourselves being the ones who dictate the pace of the game, and if you play the hands out correctly, you can almost always do that.
Actually, as I got to come up to you, was like some players coming up to me and saying like there is a Lexi killer running around.
Yeah, I took one. I think I had one of my losses in Swiss was to Lexi. That was one of the guys from North Carolina. So shout out to him. And then, yeah, that was a good game. But other than that, I think I beat 2 or 3 Lexis. But yeah, keep rolling your disruption effects. Even if you don't disrupt them, I hit Alexi with the Remorseless, and I think the Remorseless did 8 damage to them on their turn. So that game was pretty crazy, but yeah, if you want to counter the Lexis, this is a really good deck to play, because Death Dealer doesn't have as consistent disruption. They're trying to go for the damage race, but with this deck, yeah, you can really chain. Like, the aim counter effects are insane. It turns on, Deadeye is basically pummel every single time, but it's like you get to pick the card, so it's even better. Yeah. Barbed Undertow is very nuts versus most decks. But yeah, there's a bunch of really good aim counter effects that the Death Dealer deck just gets to miss out on. Yeah. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to mention was there's one caveat, which is that we haven't figured out the Dromai matchup. Proudly, I did beat one normal Dragon's Dromai on day 1 and then a Redline Dromai on day 2. So I was happy about those, but generally we were hoping to just stay in the XO bracket and avoid the Dromais. But we have a good plan for Oldhim that we'll share in our deck tech as well. Yeah. But other than that, this deck is very good against the aggro decks, very good against mid-range, because we can kind of do mid-range as well. We can block out and set up with a double arsenal and everything. Yeah. But that's about it for the overview of the deck. Yeah.
Just maybe you can tell a little bit about your last game, because you were running up against Viscerai, right?
Yeah, so I had my finals, or my top 8 game was against Zach Bunn on Viscerai. And he chose to go first. He was 4th seed, I was 5th seed. It was a good game. He starts with Arsenal Pass. I was able to find my red in the ledgers pretty early, but there was a couple key turns where I didn't find a piece of disruption, and he just had the answer every time. So he played really well. At one point in time, I was able to hit him with a Deadeye, and I had a really difficult choice to make. I don't know if I made the correct decision. I took his pitch card, hoping that he didn't have a Mauvri and an Arsenal as my out, but he did, which is good on him. And so, yeah, from there he got me, he killed me while he was on 17, so it was a bit of a destruction. But at any point in the time, he was completely out of armor, so my out was if I could live long enough to find one single red in the ledger dominated, then I can kind of start stealing the game back and chaining disruption again. But it was still a really good game. I was happy to play against him. It was also his first time top 8ing and calling, so we had good discussion. I appreciated him as an opponent, but yeah, happy to be there.
Right. And you already mentioned it, you will bring up a whole deck profile on your own channel? Tell us, where is that? Yeah,
so we have a channel, Card Advantage, on YouTube. We have Twitter, and then also we write articles on Substack. But we're definitely going to be putting out a pretty in-depth video about this deck. We're super proud of it. Sean worked on it a lot, I worked on it, and then I have teammates Chad and Pierre and a couple other guys working on it. We had all of our team was being testing dummies into us the whole time, calling us crazy, running other decks basically. Yeah. But we took it. There was 4 of us that took it to the calling. I was basically the one that got lucky with the matchups, I suppose. But yeah, we're gonna have the video coming out on our channel, so stay tuned for that for sure.
In the end, do you want to shout out anyone?
There's too many shout outs. Shout out to my wife, Rebecca. She's a really good support system. I love her very much for letting me come to these events and staying in contact with me. She's at home watching my dog, Mr. Weasley. And as far as everything else, there's too many people to pick from, so I picked my wife, and then everyone else, shout out at you know who you are.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for letting me interview you, and best of luck for the next time.
Thank you so much.
See ya.